Hi everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day so far. It's just me again with some yoga for you. We're going to go ahead and just do a little beginner sequence again, kind of just to get your hips moving. And if you're like me, you've been doing a lot of keying or a lot of social media, so maybe your upper back is tight. Today's sequence is based on a back bend, so we're going to open that heart space and let's get started. So for today's practice, you're going to need a blanket. I have just a standard yoga blanket, and the reason we'll be using the blanket today is to pad knees, and then later we'll use it for pigeon pose, okay? So just keep your blanket close by. Yes, I've got my music, but I have the remote today. So when it starts getting too lively, I can turn it down. Okay, go ahead and lay on your back, and then when you're ready, bring your knees into your chest. And what you're doing here is you're just rocking side to side, trying to roll from one hip to the next, just to see where your back is today. Yes? And then when you're ready, I'd like for you to go ahead and place your feet flat on the floor. Bring your hands into cactus arms, by the way. So cactus arms would look like this. You can also choose to just leave your hands up. Just make sure your palms are turned up to the ceiling. It's just giving your shoulders extra space to open. And then I'd like for you to take a slow inhale in through your nose. And then I'd like for you to open your mouth wide and sigh it out. Right? Slow inhale in through your nose. And then open your mouth wide and sigh it out. Last one. Slow inhale in through your nose. And then open your mouth wide and sigh it out. And when you're ready, go ahead and bring your knees into your chest and rock from side to side. All you're doing here is just trying to figure out what's going on with your low back. If you want to bring your head closer towards your knees, maybe you can get your upper back a little bit into it. Just try not to strain yourself too much, just trying to see where your body is right now. And then go ahead and send your knees forward so that your shins are parallel to the floor and your knees are roughly over your hips. Your knees are about hip width distance apart. And all I want you to start doing now is just making circles with your knees. So it's like you're circling your knees with the ceiling, right? Out and then come back in. And then I think this is our fifth one. It's just 5 of them. And we're going to just change directions and do 5 of them in the other directions. The reason I like to warm up the hips here is because I sit a lot. I sit a lot, and it's been a little bit worse since the Rona. Okay, once we're finished, go ahead and bring both knees into the chest again. And then go ahead and set your hands out to the side, set your palms down. Inhale, bring your knees into your chest. And on the exhale, carefully lower both knees over to the left. Now this is a pretty big twist, fairly early on in the practice, and the body may not be warmed up. So don't try to force this, just try to relax into the twist. Some of you, if you already practice a lot, you can go ahead and look over to your right or even try to send your right hand up behind you. Others of you will just stay exactly where you are, enjoying the twist, making sure that you're trying to bring your right shoulder towards the floor. Take another inhale. And on the exhale, try to deepen your twist, softening at the base of your neck, bringing your shoulder down towards the floor. And then when you're ready, if your hand was extended up behind you, bring your hand back to the starting position. Brace yourself. Take an inhale. Another exhale. And then inhale, bring your knees up to the ceiling and pause. And now we're going to the other side. Remember, carefully lower both knees over to the other side. Are you noticing that one side is pretty different feeling than the other side? In this case for me, this side is the stickiest for me. And make sure you're sucking your abdomen in and up. And again, your options are you can leave your hands right here, your left hand, or you could take your left hand, Take your left hand up behind you. My body's creaking today. Take your left shoulder towards the floor as much as possible. You can choose to face the right or the ceiling, or in my case, I'm going to turn my face away from the camera just to demonstrate what that would look like, just to deepen the length of the stretch, deepen the depth of the stretch. I hope you're enjoying this so far, and I hope you're enjoying your time off so far. I know that times are a bit difficult, but I hope you're finding that you're getting more in touch with family and friends, and that you're even getting more in touch with yourself with meditation and things like self-care. Let's go ahead and bring ourselves back to the starting position. So first, if your hand was up above you, bring it back so it's parallel to your shoulders. I'm going to press both palms down, so I'm going to inhale. And then I'm going to bring the knees all the way back up to the ceiling, and then bring those knees into my chest, rocking back and forth. One more twist coming up. I'd like for you to set both feet on the floor, and then take your right ankle and take it across your left thigh. Some of you are going to stay right here. Some of you are going to lift that left knee up, and you're going to reach in and through the opening for thread the needle. In thread the needle, both of your feet are flexed. So your right toes are pointed towards your right knee, and your left toes are pointed towards your left knee. And you're using your right elbow to move your right thigh away from you. Some of you are going to stay here. Some of you are going to step your leg all the way up into the ceiling. And you're just making sure that you're rolling onto your right hip. Press your right hip bone down. Press your left hip bone down. Breathe here. Smile. One more inhale. And then go ahead, and we're coming out of the posture. Go ahead, and we're going to uncross. Let's go to the other side, right? First, start with our the right foot on the ground, left foot across onto the right thigh. Reaching in through the opening. Here we go. Some of us are going to stay right here. Some of us are going to reach through the opening. Some of us are going to send the heel up into the sky. Whatever option we choose, the right toes are pointing towards the right knee. The left toes are pointing towards the left knee. And you're pressing on both sides of the hip equally. So you're pressing down to the right side of the hip, and you're pressing down to the left side of the hip. And you're smiling. And you're taking your left elbow and moving your left thigh away from you. And you're smiling. One more inhale here. One more exhale. Let's go ahead and come out of the posture. If your leg was extended, bend the knee. Go ahead and uncross. Bring both knees into the chest and hold here for a moment. If you have lower back problems, by the way, have you noticed that I'm just rocking in circles and then I'm changing directions? Feel free to do that. Feel free to stay still. Feel free to just be in this posture and just be right here enjoying the posture. Feel free to bring your knees to your nose. It's your practice, and it's what feels good for you. Moving on, some of you are going to roll onto your side and make your way up. Especially if you have lower back problems, that's what you're going to do. The rest of us are going to roll back and forth until we come up into a seated position. Then, here's where the blanket comes into play. We're going to go ahead and set the blanket across the mat. So I have the Iyengar fold in my blanket, so it's a pretty thick blanket, and I'm just going to set it halfway across the front and back of my mat. And then I'm going to make sure that my knees are on the blanket, but that my hands are on the mat. Also, the tops of my toes would be pressing into the floor. My knees are about hip-width distance apart. So this is what I would look like from the front, right? Also, my hands are turned out just a little bit. So basically, can you see? Can you see? So basically, if this was my hand on the mat, if this were the fringe of the mat, my index finger would be pointing up to the top and my fingers would be spread, just to give myself a little bit of room in my wrists, right? It's kind of hard to do this when I'm not in front of you to annoy you with corrections. So once you have your hands placed here about shoulder width distance apart, shoulders over wrists, hips over knees. And make sure you're not slunking into your lower back. Make sure that you're not slumping your stomach down or dropping in. Try to send your tailbone towards your heels and just stuck your stomach in and up. Let's go ahead and inhale and lift our head and chest, arching the lower back, coming into cow. And then exhale to round, 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 coming into cat. Let's do that again. Inhale, lift your head and chest, arching your lower back, moving your chest in between your shoulders, and then exhale to round, 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 coming into cat, pressing your finger palms down, round it into your upper back. Let's go ahead and do 3 more like this on your own. Just the length of your breath. Do not rush these, especially since if you've been sitting around all day, you want to give your body time to warm up. What a day, guys. I was supposed to go to Antigua, and I decided last minute that I wasn't going to go. And I feel badly, and I miss my grandfather. So I'm just trying to do cat-cows until I feel better here. One more time here. Let's go ahead and come back to a neutral spine. Walk your hands forward. I'd like for you to widen your knees. Bring your big toes together. Bring your hips back to meet your heels and send your forehead towards the ground. Walk your hands forward, press into your palms, and send your tailbone back at the same time so that you have a little bit of, traction in your lower back. Make sure that your hands are reaching so far forward that your forearms are lifted up off the mat. One more inhale here. And then open your mouth wide on the exhale. And then when you're ready, leaving your palms right here, spread your fingers wide. Go ahead and bring your knees back into hip-width distance apart. And then go ahead and tuck your toes and lift your hips and bring yourself into downward facing dog. Go ahead and paddle your knees out. We're not going to be here too long, folks. Just trying to get into those hamstrings a little bit. So go ahead and bend your knees the same amount, lift your heels and hips, and then send your heels back towards the floor. Take an inhale, and then open your mouth wide, and let out an exhale. And then go ahead and lift your right foot up and back, and go ahead and bend your right knee. Bring your right knee into your nose, and place your right foot up in between your hands. Then go ahead and lower your back knee and untuck the back toe. And then bring your hands on to your right thigh. Bring your right hip underneath you, and then pause here. I'd like for you to go ahead and bring your hands to the floor. If you had a block, this would really help you had a block. But I'm not going to use it, right? I want you to go ahead and send your left knee back, just maybe an inch. And then bring yourself back into that low lunge. Pause here. Make sure that you can see your second toe. Make sure your knee has this shape and not this shape. Can't even do that right. When you have your knee going past your ankle, we don't want that. We just want a nice little straight, we want a nice L, the L shape, so we don't hurt our knee. Take an inhale. And on exhale, lift your hands up to the ceiling. Pause here. And then exhale. Remember that we did that little trip thing we're doing? We're taking another trip. Then we're going to send our hands out to the side. Bring our palms together. Inhale again. And on the exhale, hinge forward and hook our hands. Some of you are going to, hook your left elbow over your right knee. Some of you are going to stay here. Others of you are going to tuck your toe and lift your back knee up. All right? Some of you are going to split your hands. Others of you are just going to stay right here. So if your hands were split, bring your palms back together. And then if your knee is up, go ahead and bring your knee down to the floor. Turn your focus back to the floor and pause right here. I'd like for you to go ahead and tuck your back toe, lift your back knee, and without trying not to disturb your blanket, step back to plank pose. And then go ahead and bring yourself back to downward facing dog. Only here for a few moments, just so we can do the other leg. Lift your left foot up and back. Bend your left knee, bring your left knee into your nose. Step your left foot out in front of you and go ahead and lower your back knee. Untuck your back toe. If you have a block, you can choose to brace yourself. Simply lift your right knee up, send it back another inch or so. And then go ahead and crawl your hands up onto your left thigh. Tuck your left thigh underneath you. Send your tailbone towards the floor. Lift your back ribs up and then go ahead and send your hands up into the sky. So you're pressing through your entire left foot. You're pressing especially equally on all four corners of the foot. And you're smiling. You're going to inhale. And on the exhale, we're going on another journey. We're going to turn ourselves to the left. Go ahead and bring your palms together. Inhale. Exhale, hinge forward and hook your right elbow outside of your left knee. Some of you are going to stay right here. Others of you are going to tuck your back toe, lift your back knee, and here we are. Another version of the posture. If you're feeling a little bit more amped, you can go ahead and split the arms if you choose to. And then go ahead and hold it here. Breathing calmly, steadily and evenly in through your nose and out through your nose. And then when you're ready, I'd like for you, if your hands were split, to bring your palms back together. And then go ahead, if your knees were lifted, if your knee is lifted, pause here. Then go ahead and turn your gaze to the floor. Everyone lower the knee down to the floor. Pause here. I think I did that backwards, guys. Leave that knee up and then step the left foot back. Yes. Doing it backwards, folks. Normally, I'm just teaching or I'm practicing. I'm not doing both. I'd like for you to pause right here and then go ahead and bring your knees down to the floor. Widen your knees. Bring your big toes together. Walk your hands forward and rest for a moment. Almost here, guys. We have a few more things to do. And when you're ready, I'd like for you to go ahead and bring yourself up. Move your blanket off of the mat. And then I'd like for you to go straight to downward dog. Make your feet wide at the back of the mat. And then go ahead and walk your hands back to meet your feet. And bend your knees at the back of the mat. I'd like for you to let the crown of your head hang down. And then when you're ready, grab your opposite elbows. This should feel pretty awesome. Some of you may want to take turns, taking one knee towards straight and then the other. Now would be a good time to switch the crossing of your arms. Again, you're letting the crown of your head hang down to the floor. Some of you will stay right here. Others of you will go ahead and start taking one knee towards straight and then the other. And then I'd like for you to go ahead and drop your hands down to the floor and pause here. Take an inhale and come up halfway. Your hands can be on your fingertips or on your shins. One more inhale. And then exhale, forward fold. And I want you to pay attention to where your weight falls in your body here. First of all, the weight should be in the balls of the feet so that you're not sitting back into your heels, right? Weight is in the balls of the feet. Your gaze should be between your knees, okay? Let's take an inhale, exhale, and then inhale, come up halfway. Hands on the fingertips or on the shins. So then you have a straight back, your shoulders are away from the ears, and your gaze is at your big toes. Take another inhale, and then exhale, forward fold. I'd like for you to bring your hands to your hips, put your elbows up into the ceiling. And let's come on up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Woo! We made it, right? Okay. Let's go ahead and walk to the front of your mat. I'm going to face you, but you keep just at the front of your mat. I'm just facing you this way so that we have a nice, easy transition. I'd like for you to make sure your feet are hip-width distance apart, your shoulders away from your ears, your palms are facing towards the front of the room. Your tailbones down, shoulders roll down the back. Inhale. Exhale, maybe close your eyes for a moment. Standing in mountain pose. Let's go ahead and do 2 half suryas. Suryas are just those postures that are very heating, and they call them sun salutations because they head up a lot of beginning. They're heating series to help you to get to other postures. Don't know what's wrong with me. Anyway, let's go. Inhale, float your arms up to the ceiling, Utthita Hastasana. Exhale, forward fold. You can keep your knees bent. Dive, Uttanasana. Inhale, come up halfway. Fingertips or shins. Exhale, forward fold. And then inhale, float your arms up to the ceiling. Seal the palms. Hands to heart center. Hands down side. Let's do that again. Inhale, float the arms up, Utthita Hastasana. Exhale, forward fold, dive, Uttanasana. Inhale, come up halfway, fingertips or shins. Exhale, forward fold. And then inhale, float your arms up to the ceiling. Seal the palms. Hands to heart center. Hands down side. Adding on. Inhale, float the arms up, Utthita Hastasana. Exhale, forward fold, dive, Uttanasana. Inhale, come up halfway, fingertips or shins. Exhale, bend the knees, plant the palms. Step the left foot back and then the right, and pause in plank pose. Yes? I'd like for you to shift your weight forward so that your shoulders are over your fingertips, and then come on back. We have 2 more. Shift the weight forward. I call it looking over the ledge, and then come on back. We have 1 more. Shift the weight forward, and then come on back. Then go ahead and lower your knees down to the floor, and let's bend our elbows and bring ourselves all the way down to the floor. I'd like for you to go ahead and untuck your toes and bring your hands next to your side ribs. Hug your elbows into your body. And let's go ahead and inhale and come up halfway. Exhale, come back down. Inhale, come up halfway. Tops of the toes pressing into the mat. Exhale, come back down. Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, come back down. Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, come back down. Changing it up. Inhale, come up halfway and hold. Take an exhale. Take another inhale. And then exhale, come back down. Listen up. Inhale, come up halfway. And then maybe you can try to straighten your arms and come into upward dog. If you're in upward dog, your kneecaps are lifted up off the mat. I'd like for you to tuck your toes, lift your hips, bring yourself into downward facing dog. And then go ahead and lower your knees down to the mat, and then make your way back onto your belly. And this time, bring your forearms in front of you onto your mat. So here's what I want you to watch for. So your forearms are underneath you on the mat, right? I'd like for you to measure the distance between your forearms. You don't want too wide, you don't want too narrow. You want them about the width of your shoulders, and you'll see what I mean in a moment. Another thing, you're gonna wanna make sure after you've measured the width, you wanna make sure that they're just slightly in front, just the teeniest bit in front of your shoulders, your elbows. Just the teeniest bit, and again, you'll see what I mean. Now I'd like for you to just place I'd like for you to place your forearms on the floor with your palms facing down. You've done your measurements. You have your elbows in the right position, and the tops of your toes are pressing into the mat. I'd like for you to lift your chest and bring your body through your arms, like you're trying to bring your whole entire torso through your forearms. And it's a nice stretch. Oh, this is so awesome. This is called Sphinx. And so one more thing I'd like for you to do in Sphinx. I'd like for you to just go ahead and bring your head down to the floor, and then turn your face to the right with your left ear to the floor, hands next to your side.
for a nice stretch for your neck. I'm sure this feels pretty awesome. Try to bring your left ear to the floor rather than your left cheek, because that's where you'll get the maximum benefit for the stretch along the right side of your neck. Also, you'll notice if you bring your left ear towards the mat more than your cheek, your right shoulder will start to open up and loosen up a little bit and go towards the floor a little bit more, increasing that stressing sensation. And like I tell my students, break time's over. Bring yourself back into Sphinx Pose. Again, measure, watch the distance from between your elbows, and watch that space between your shoulder over your elbow. And again, forearms are pressing into the floor. Forearms are about the same distance apart as your elbows. And then go ahead and lift your head and chest up, come into Sphinx Pose. And again, you're just lifting, widening across your collarbones and drawing your torso through your arms. It should feel so good. One more inhale here. Reach back to your toes. Reach forward through your chest. And let's come on down. Again, bring the hands next to the side. Turn your head to the right this time. I'm sorry, turn your head to the left, bringing your right ear down to the floor. And again, try to bring your right ear to the floor rather than your right cheek. And you'll notice that your left shoulder will open up and roll towards the floor a little bit more. Just here for a few more moments. And now let's go ahead and bring ourselves back in that position for Sphinx Pose. We're ready to move on. So you measure, check the distance, and this time I want you to clasp your hands together. I want you to press your forearms down into the floor. Now when you clasp your hands together, I'm just coming forward to the camera to show you. So you're clasping your hands together, right? And you're going to tuck your pinky under, and it's like you're holding on to an egg. And then you're pressing down through your forearm. So let's do it together. So first I'm going to measure. Then I'm clasping my hands together, tucking my pinky under. Also, the next thing I'm going to do after I get my distances together, I'm going to walk my toes in, and then I'm going to inhale, press it into my forearms. I'm going to exhale. I'm going to lift my hips up and come in a forearm plank. And I'm just going to stay here in forearm plank. Maybe I'll hover one toe. Maybe I'll hover the other toe. And I'm going to send my tailbone towards my heels, pressing to my forearms, widening across my collarbones. Then I'm going to lower my knees and then come back down, bring myself back into Sphinx Pose. Nice, right? Let's do that again. Forearm plank. So cross the fingers, maybe clasp your fingers. Maybe you want to do the other side this time for evenness sake. Press into your forearms. Walk your toes in. Lift your knees, lift your abs, lift your hips. Hold here. And again, maybe you want to hover your right toes, hover your left toes. And then when you're ready, lower the knees, lower the hips. Bring yourself into Sphinx Pose on top of the toes. All right, and now let's go ahead and bring our hands next to our side raise. Elbows into the body, tuck the toes. You can either push back onto your knees for modified plank, or you could have gone to upward facing dog. Whatever you decide to do, meet me in downward facing dog. And then I'd like for you to go ahead and lift your right foot up and back. And I want you to bring your right knee into your nose and set your right foot up in between both your hands. Then I'd like for you to go ahead and spin your left foot down so that the right heel roughly lines up with the left arch. And when you have that together, bring your right hip underneath you and then windmill your arms and come into Warrior Two. I'd like for you to sink deeply into your Warrior Two. Wrap your right hip underneath you. Make sure you can look down and see your second toe. Make sure that your knee does not look like this, but that it looks like this. Yes? Because you don't want to injure yourself. Go ahead and turn your right palm up. Send your left hand down your thigh. Reach up to the ceiling to reverse your warrior. Take an inhale and an exhale. And then come back to your warrior two. I'd like for you to hinge forward and bring your right elbow to your left knee. So your right elbow to your right knee. And then send your left hand up to the sky for Parsvakonasana, extended side angle pose. Some of you are going to stay right here. Others of you are going to reach your palm forward and bring yourself into an extended version of the posture. Some of you are going to stay right here. Others of you are going to take your right hand to join your left hand. Wherever you are, breathe in the posture. If your right hand is extended, bring it back to your thigh. If your left hand is over you, bring it back to the ceiling. And everybody, let's go ahead and press into your right foot and bring yourself back into warrior two. Reverse your warrior, inhale, and exhale, spiral your arms down to the floor and pause. Step back in your plank pose and bring yourself into downward facing dog. For those of you who are seasoned yoga practitioners, feel free to go and bust out a vinyasa right now. I will wait here for you in downward dog. Okay, folks, I'd like for you to lift your left foot up and back. And then we're just doing the same thing. Knee forward, left foot up in front. Spin the right foot down so you have that heel to arch alignment. And then when you're ready, press into both feet and bring yourself up into warrior two. Sorry for all the adjustments here, folks. So again, in your warrior two posture, you're making sure you have the left heel lined up with the right arch. Bend completely into the front knee. Make sure you can see that second toe. And again, make sure this is not your shape in your knee, but that your thighs are behind your knees and that you can see your second toe. Let's go ahead and reverse the warrior. Inhale. And then exhale, bring yourself back into your warrior two posture. Let's go ahead and hinge forward and bring that forearm to the left knee, the left thigh. Wow. Send the hand up to the ceiling. I wish I could tell you I've been drinking. I'm just so super tired with all of this stuff that's going on. I'm not sleeping very well. So there's that, right? Even more important time for practice, right? Let's go ahead and bring the right hand forward if this is what you're going to do. Some of you are just going to stay in the original position. Others of you, if this is working out for you and you'd like to add on, send the left hand out and join the left hand with the right. Breathe evenly. Your teeth can't help you in this posture. And then when you're ready, if your left hand was extended, bring it back to your thigh. If your right hand was over you, send it back to the ceiling. And then bring yourself back up into your warrior two posture. Let's reverse one more time. Inhale. And then exhale, spiral the arms down to the floor. Pause here. Step back. Downward facing dog. Some of you may want to do a vinyasa. I think I missed the opportunity to cue you for it. If you'd like to do one now, please go ahead and do it. In the meantime, I'll wait here with everyone in our downward facing dog. We're coming to the part of the practice where we're gonna wind down for a bit before we come into our peak posture, which will just simply be Dolphin Pose today. And go ahead and lower your knees down to the mat. Widen your knees. Again, we have the blanket here, so if you need the blanket to pad your knees, go ahead and then bring yourself into child's pose. Again, big toes together, knees hip distance apart, forehead on the floor, arms extended out in front of you, tailbone towards your heels. Reach forward while your hips are reaching back to give you some traction in your arms, in your back, in your hip sockets. Wherever you are, go ahead and let an exhale out.
And then go ahead and sip a deep inhale in through the nose. And then open your mouth wide. Sigh it out. Go ahead and walk your hands back to meet your knees. Turn your palms. Turn your hands so that your fingers are facing you. This is a nice stretch for your wrists. I hope you can see what's going on here. So my hands were this way, and then I just turned them so that my fingers were facing me. I apologize, guys. I'm not cueing the best way, but I promised myself that I would make this video because so many people are in need of yoga, and I needed this too. So forgive my my proclivities here today. And this is a really nice stretch on your wrist. Now we're going to go ahead and open our hips a little bit just before we do our main posture. So take your blanket and then just roll your blanket so that you have, some people are using towels, so that you have just roughly this kind of shape and this kind of width. It's not that wide, right? Okay. What I want you to do, I want you to get up on your knees here, both knees, and then I want you to step your left foot over the blanket, and then I'd like for you to bring your hands to the floor, take your left foot over to your right wrist, and then take your left knee towards the mat. Kind of see what I did there? And then I have the blanket underneath my hip, and now I'm in pigeon pose. Yes? Okay. So basically, I'm gonna try to rotate my hips towards the blanket. I'm flexing my left foot, and I'm reaching back all the way through the toes on my right. This posture, you can be here in the posture. If this is working for you, you can come on down to your forearms like we did in Forearm Plank. Some people like to go and bring their heads down to the floor. I'm gonna just ask you, what's wrong with you, friend? Like, you know, you need to pay rent for real though. So some people like to just stay right here and bring their foreheads to the floor. Some people, this is all that's gonna happen for them. And this should be a nice stretch in your hip. It should be delicious and awful at the same time. So we're just gonna be here for a few more breaths. I'd like for you to try to rotate your hips towards the right. Rotate onto the right and stretch your right toes back. And are you ready to come out? Let's go ahead and do that very carefully. This is how I messed up my knee the last time. Let's go ahead first. Press into your arms and bring yourself back onto that knee. And then step the left foot back to meet the right. Immediately bring the right foot in front. Reposition your blanket. Walk the right toes over to the left. Right knee over to the right. And then here we are on the other side. And begin to rotate towards the ground. Rotate the left hip towards the ground. Flex your right foot and extend back through the left foot. Again, you have the option to stay here, or you can come down on your forearms like we did when we were doing Forearm Plank, or you can bring your head down to the ground, which the cat does not like. Oh, this is just horrible for me on one side more than it is the other. But the issue is I have really tight hips, so I'm not enjoying any of this. And if you find that you're not enjoying this, pretty normal. It's sort of like a really bad knot and you're taking a massage to it. It's just a lot. I don't enjoy this posture at all. And then there's a rule of thumb that says the more a posture is uncomfortable is the more you need it. So there's that, right? Luckily for us, we only have to be here for a few more seconds. I'm trying to get the most that I can out of this. And then when you're ready, go ahead and bring yourself back up if you weren't up already. And then very carefully get yourself out of this posture. Bring the right foot back. Here we go. Take your blanket off of the mat. Whew. And let's go ahead and bring ourselves into Child's Pose just to reset. And let's go ahead and make your way onto your belly, where we're going to do our peak posture now, which is Dolphin.
So I'd like for you to measure. Bring yourself into Sphinx Pose, tops of the toes pressing into the floor. Bring your breastbone forward. Then go ahead and measure. Clasp your hands, tuck your pinky under. Set your forearms down on the floor. Walk your toes in just a little bit. Lift your knees, lift your hips, and now you're in Forearm Plank. Some of you are going to stay right here. Some of you are going to take the time to hover one foot in the next. And yet others of you are going to walk your feet up, all the way up until your hips are over your shoulders, widen across your collarbones. Maybe you're sending one leg up here and one leg up there. And then when you're ready, you're going to walk back down. Bring your toes down, your knees down, your toes, your hips, and then bring yourself into Sphinx Pose. How was that? Was that good? Let's do it one more time, okay? One more time. Excuse me. Like I have to pull my clothes up so I don't blind you with my belly. Here we go. Ready? Clasp your hands. Maybe you're clasping the other way now. Measure, clasp. Walk the feet in. And then let's go. Let's lift knees, hips. Now we're in Forearm Plank. Widen across your collarbones. Then go ahead and maybe you're hovering one foot and then the next, or maybe you've gone straight into Dolphin Pose, and then when you're there, you're going to hover one foot and then the next. And then when you're ready, walk yourself back if you went into full Dolphin. Everybody, let's meet in Forearm Planks, and then lower the knees, lower the hips, come into Sphinx Pose. That had to feel good, right? Okay. That was nice. Let's go ahead and bring our hands next to our sideways. Go ahead and inhale, come up halfway. And then maybe everybody lift yourself up, come into upward dog or forearm plank, or in bonafide plank. And then bring yourself back to downward facing dog. Walk your hands back to meet your feet. Keep the knees bent here. Take an inhale and come up halfway. Exhale, forward fold. And then inhale, float your arms all the way up to the ceiling. Seal the palms. Hands to heart center, hands down side. Okay, so let's get ready to cool down. Are you enjoying the practice so far? Okay, cooling down. Really, man? Laying on the floor. Oh, this is so nice. You're gonna reach towards your heels. Make sure that your knees are hip-width distance apart. Reach towards your heels just enough so that your middle finger can brush your heels. And then grab the sides of your mat. Press into the mat. Press your feet, spread your toes. Take an inhale. And on the exhale, lift your hips up and come into bridge pose. Some of you are going to be holding on to the mat. Others of you are going to take your hands underneath you and roll your shoulders, pressing up even higher into bridge. While you're here, you're breathing in and jamming your neck, just sort of bringing your chin to the ceiling. Smile. Lift your hips up on the inhale. Smile. Press all sides of your feet into the floor. Then go ahead and grab the sides of the mat. Roll down one vertebrae at a time. And pause right here. Right? Bring your hands to your stomach. One hand to your abdomen and one hand to your heart. And just rest here for a moment, following the instruction of your breath. And then when you're ready, go ahead and bring your knees into your chest. I'd like for you to reach up and grab either your shins or the bottom of your feet for a happy baby, taking your knees out to the side. Some of you may want to rock your baby. Yes, when you're finished rocking your baby to your satisfaction, pause here for a moment.
Inhale in through your nose, exhale through your nose. Let's go ahead and take one final twist, guys. Go ahead and bring your knees into your chest. Hands out to the sides. Inhale, exhale, lower the knees down to the left. Turn your body to the right. Slow, even breaths in through the nose, out through the nose. Take a big inhale. On your next exhale, bring your knees up to the ceiling and then lower them over to the other side. Take your time. Notice also that your back might have become a lot more limber since we started this whole thing. Breathe in through your nose. Breathe out through your nose. And then when you're ready, take an inhale. On your next exhale, bring your knees back up to the ceiling. Pause right here. And then when you're ready, take your knees out, send your legs forward, and bring yourself into Savasana. You have the blanket. You can place the blanket underneath your head with your shoulders towards the floor. You can place the blanket underneath your knees just for a little bit of support there while you're laying on the floor. You can take the blanket and place the blanket across your abdomen for some grounding. Breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. And I'd like for you to thank you for taking the time today to be with me for yoga. Thank you for practicing with me and for giving me a reason to practice today. It was a rough day. Take a slow inhale in through your nose and then open your mouth wide inside out. Feel free to lay in Savasana for as long as you would like. Thank you for practicing with me today. The light in me sees and bows to the light in you. Namaste.